the flu vaccine. It is Mamelodi Sundowns who take on Baroka FC here at Loftus Versfeld. It is the Stadium of Champions. It is the Blue Bulls who find themselves as champions. We'll see them go 5 points clear atop the DStv Premiership standings. Can they do it here and now? For Baroka, an opportunity to win successive away matches against Mamelodi Sundowns, which is a rare feat for any team, having come face to face with the Sundowns side since Pitso Musimane's arrival in late 2012. But a quick acknowledgement to those virtual fans. They remember you every game, even though you might not. We, as production staff, wish you were here, and certainly the footballers are first to acknowledge it. They love your presence, and it is a gesture, but it is certainly meaningful. Every time they acknowledge the empty stands, they are thinking of you, the supporters, the fans. Well, to extend their advantage atop the DStv Premiership standings to 5 points, Mamelodi Sundowns in their traditional yellow, blue and white up against the Baroka side this afternoon, clad in green with yellow trim. So two traditional colours, but two sides with varying pedigrees and histories. Baroka, only a recent team in the top flight against the Sundowns side that is one of only 4 that have been ever present in the South African top flight. And what a joy they've largely been to watch over the last nearly decade or so. Delivery in here. It's for an early goal. Peter Shalulile, just an untimely touch. Could have had the early opportunity, but inside the opening minutes, William Shongwe, this is, on the face of it, a very, very exhilarating fixture.
Indeed, without a doubt. And Mamelodi Sundowns obviously having returned from their lead at the top by getting all 3 points, and this is the type of games that in their minds would want to make sure that they get all 2 points. But I'm sure they'll keep in mind that Baroka has come up with some very difficult moments for them in the past. I'm sure they've got that in the back of their minds.
Yeah, I think there's a certain Nedbank Cup tie that might be haunting this Telkom knockout tie, rather. Thinking of the Nedbank Cup that both these sides were involved in their most recent domestic action. It was 10 days ago for Baroka when they were eliminated by Cape Town Spurs after leading in that game, as Mkulisa looks for space inside that 18-yard area but fails to quite thread the ball through as he would have liked.
And the most important, you mentioned that win for Baroka in that cup games. To think that Toka Matsimela, he was actually the stand-in coach at the time, with the head coach having travelled back to Zambia to attend to a family bereavement.
Yes, Wetson Nyirenda was the man in charge. Indeed, we remember that fairly well. I suppose owing to the bereavement at the time for Wetson Nyirenda, and to leave the team fresh off, I think it was a victory over Golden Arrows that got them into the quarter-final stages. And Duduzi Mdantsane, who's now doing wonders at Cape Town City, scored early on in that game, and I think the second one was an own goal off Rayard Pieterse, who started in goal. That's it, Sundowns looking lively on that far flank, in towards Mvala. Early chance to shoot here, but well defended by Musele. Timing needed to be perfect, but he's given it away to Shalulile, who might set up a chance here. And while he had an opportunity potentially to shoot himself, pulled it back for Zwade. The effort is still on, and it's just fizzed by as Lyle Lakay ends what was a very promising attack from Mamelodi Sundowns. The pressure avoided and absorbed by the visitors early on.
When I say about 5 players in attack for me, you have Mkulisa, suddenly you have Mvala, and then you have Zwane. Everybody with that great potential to be able to find the back of the net. It's a very difficult task to defend against so many quality players.
So Lyle Lakay, who had the final effort, my word, Dugan Vala, who returned from a red card against Black Leopards last month. He had the first shot, but Musele, the timing of that challenge to deny him was superb for a player who's not even a defender. There's incredibly talented Gerald Piri before we saw Lyle Lakay, yes.
Is Musele not the one that actually gave away? Because I think it was a Baroka ball, and one of the players stumbled actually to give it away.
Yeah, it was after the challenge he made to deny Mvala an effort, stole the ball brilliantly, and then gave it away to Shalulile. It could have been a very interesting story for the Brave Warriors here this afternoon, but Jocelyn Kamatuka doesn't get to start successive DSTV Premiership matches for Baroka here this afternoon, as Kambala looks to thread a long ball out to the far side where Masia is unable to run onto the end of it.
Very hesitant, Masia. I'm not too sure why. Because
he stopped his run initially.
Yes, and then stopped, and that's exactly the time that Kambala made the pass. And then by the time he recovers, it was too late to go pick it up.
Yeah, unless he thought Kambala was going to take a little long, but he was onside, and if he had continued running, he wouldn't have been offside. I would imagine, based on when Kambala struck the ball, as the ball is touched out of play. Sundowns will have a throw inside their own half. But there is Shalulile on the bench for Baroka this afternoon, is Jocelyn Kamatuka, who is his Namibian international teammate. They would love to come up against one another. Good friends as well. As Mvala with a first time touch through, very close to finding Temazwane, being intercepted by Batlele. Pressure on Makume here. He's very good defensively, but he's not a natural defender, if that makes sense. He's more of a midfielder. Player who has enough ability. Yes?
Sorry, this game is so fast that sometimes you want to say something, but the game is happening and you have to get a space to squeeze it. I mean, there's so much happening, and I hope people at home are enjoying it just as much.
It reminds us, William Shongwe, of our match very recently between Supersport United and Cape Town City. My word.
Non-stop, end-to-end stuff.
As Klebar has wanted to get involved. The captain today, he is one of the Namibian internationals, but he is playing down the opposite flank as Shalulile would largely play, so might take only select moments to see the two meet on the pitch. Again, two individuals who are well familiar with one another's game plan, and two who have played together in numerous international fixtures over the years.
Some people might not have realized exactly what happened there. Jumpies nudges Zwane just a little bit, and with the ref closest to be able to pick it up, and it wasn't much, but he just basically took the advantage from Zwane.
Ball nodded back towards Chipazeze here, who's returned in goal. He's a very, very talented goalkeeper, undoubtedly. There was some, shall we say, a few words exchanged in press conferences and interviews between Chipazeze at Baroka and Pitsu Musimane, who was coaching Mamelodi Sundowns at the time in seasons gone by. The king of time wasting, I think, was the phrase that was used by Pitsu Musimane, who has never been shy. Now coaching Al Ahly, guided them to the bronze medal at the FIFA Club World Cup. A remarkable performance, having only lost out to the brilliance of the best player in the world right now, Lewandowski. Delivery in here and a header on target. It's sat up brilliantly. It has to be tucked away. Hebart getting a firm head on that, but Onyango so well positioned.
Nearly doing a repeat, Hebart.
He did. 20 minutes in.
Yeah, a repeat from the
Dobson goal.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, he gets a clean header just as well that Onyango kept his position and was alert to the danger. And that is dangerous to allow any player, it doesn't matter who, any player lacking in that area.
This is the 10th league meeting between these sides, 11th overall. Mamelodi Sundowns have won 5 of their previous 9 league meetings, 5 of their previous matches across all competitions, because their only cup tie was that Baroka victory. But it's interesting to note that Baroka have been among the sides that have kept Mamelodi Sundowns scoreless. In a third of all their matches, they've kept Sundowns from scoring. They are a side that are traditionally buoyed by playing 2 sides in particular, and those sides are undoubtedly Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns. Ball in over the top here that Niall Lakay will reach on to. Remember when Lyle Lakay was a wet behind the ears teenager who was playing at FC Cape Town and helped knock Kaizer Chiefs out of the Nedbank Cup?
I was there in the Free State. That game took place because for some reason they couldn't play anywhere else. Cape Town.
FC Cape Town,
FC
yes.
Cape Town, yeah.
There's Ricardo Nascimento wearing the captain's armband in the absence of Hlompho Kekana. The missing players today, though. There's only two genuine long-term injuries for Mamelodi Sundowns at the moment. Musa Mkhuli and Brian Onyango are out with injuries. But even Mauricio Afonso is back training. He's doing light training and has been through his rehab. So good news is that although they've had a full starting 11 out for the longest time, they will have players back from injury soon enough, it seems. All in here from Sundowns, and Chipazese comes screaming off his line. And maybe, just maybe, William Chomwe, as the great goalkeeper that you were, we can look at this. Maybe this is a tactical change. Delivery in as Mahopa nearly gets a touch on it. Looked for the touch away by Nascimento before Nyongo was able to claim a ball that ricocheted around. But Chipazese, I think with that last Sundowns attack, came off his line so incredibly quickly, and maybe this is Matsimela Toka saying, this is my masterstroke. I'm going to play the team that I think can handle Sundowns best, because Oscar Masuluke, while he has his strengths, coming off his line quickly is not one of them.
You hit it on the head, if I said it correctly in your language. In as far as the point made, it is true. He's quicker off his mark, and also if you're playing against the Mamelodi Sundowns who play a great passing game, meaning that they penetrate, and there's going to be a lot of through balls, and you need a goalkeeper as quick as to come out that can read the action that well. So that is exactly the point. And of course, I managed to ask, and he says that he's been very positive in training. And,
good to know.
He's been giving it his all, very supportive to Masuluga. So this is a small reward, alongside the tactical change, of course.
Certainly. Chongwe making sure that he's got the knowledge behind the scenes as well. Glad to know that he's been doing well in training. And Serino onto possession here for this Sundowns side, who go on the attack again. There's been a couple of scares on both ends, but no genuine clear-cut opportunities. Although this, a little while ago, might have given Dennis Onyango pause for thought. William Chongwe, with Nascimento trying to clear, but only succeeding in kicking it into Gerald Piri's chest.
Yes. And would that have been considered a foul on Makopa by Dennis? But he wasn't even looking for that matter. So I guess Dennis can be excused in that moment. That's the thing about Roca is while they might have been under a bit of pressure from Sundowns, but when they do come out with great speed, and that's where Sundowns will have to do very well to recover into their defensive position.
Ball out wide. So Baroka have showed an element of strength here, and will try to see this ball into the back of the Sundowns net. There will be some effort to get it there. It's not only one player that you need to get beyond, several. Batlele with a throw-in. So Basil Batlele. Onyango's come out confidently, but he's coming over the top of his own player, Ntobi Mvala.
A late call. And he calls earlier, everybody clears his part. But maybe along the way he wasn't too sure if he was going to get there. Only when he was sure did he make the call. That's why he clutches into the back of his own player. Something very interesting, Dwayne. Look at the midfielders of Mamelodi Sundowns. When they're defending, they're right, or should I say when they're doing the build-up, they're right into the face of the defenders, just to be able to link up nicely. But once they cross the center line, the shift goes into the support of the three strikers. So those are the hardest working at the moment.
Ball in over the top here. It's the hard-working Shalulile was chasing. Oh, my word. He called it early. He said it's going to happen, but we spotted that Chipazeze being in goal was always going to have the ability to eliminate. And while he's got the hand up for tossing that ball a little too enthusiastically over the head of any of his teammates, he had done the hard work and made it safe.
Quick off his mark from the centre, Dwayne, like you just called it. And that takes reading of the game, by the way, which means that's what he's got. And for somebody that doesn't play that long, sometimes it's not easy when you just bounce back and that you get some of this decision correctly.
Ball into that danger area, but again, too strong for anybody to run onto. This time it's Tembazwane who's chasing. Uruguay. Salta and Tembazwane from Tembisa. Away, Musele bringing it under control here. He's already worn the captain's armband at Baroka as Musele. He's only 21 years old now as Gaga allows this ball out of play on the near side.
It's been very quiet in Gaga.
Yes, he's a very plucky player who can play as a second striker or down a wing.
In fact, both wingers, Masia and Mkaka, have been relatively very quiet for Baroka in this beginning half of the game.
Over the top here by Lakay after Mvala knocked it back to him. So the opening 15 minutes have come and gone. Goalless it remains. There's Mamelodi Sundowns. Ooh. Well, there was a foul before Mvala went sliding in for a challenge that nearly took out the right boot of Ngaka. So Sundowns will have the free kick. As Kambala went in.
Yeah.
I don't know if he made contact.
I think he did. He actually clipped him around the
That
ankles.
was the one where Mvala came charging off his feet. So a foul on either side, and eventually the call went correctly toward the team that suffered the first infringement.
Luckily, the ref spotted the first one.
Well, Philippe Tignani, very experienced referee, and there'll be some who argue he's made his mistakes. But yes, he's made some mistakes. He's 46 years old now, and he's been refereeing for over 2 decades. So, yes, he has made some errors. Every referee has. But I'll speak more about Philippe Tignani in a moment. Free kick. Lakay lines it up, but in the end, it's nothing more than a tame trickle towards Chipazeze, who's having to pick that ball up and toss it away. The goalkeeper, who turns 31 next month. On. The chest down from Piri. Just a quality player. There's so much refinement about his game, but so frustratingly erratic. He lacks the consistency. As Piri here feeds in a ball that looked so precise. It'll be kept in play on that far side. Delivered in here by Mpatheles. Valdo Kutsia is back to knock the ball away. Makume doing a cover job.
I know not a lot gets said about Makume in that centre of defence for Baroka, but let me tell you, he's one of those class defenders that don't get noticed.
Now, real charge in here. Baroka with an early opportunity, and it's a strike that's powerful, but Dennis Onyango very quickly down into his right, one hand to deny Baroka the opening goal as Mahopa looked to latch on to that and find a finish. My word, Baroka with their second shot on target, but that was far from the tame effort that came in the way of Dennis Onyango earlier. That was genuinely testing it. William Shongwe, you know better than I do, but a ball that's a little higher, even if it's further away from you, is far easier to deflect away than a ball right next to your feet.
We often say there is Mzansi's number 1, and we have Africa's number 1. That is why. That was a very good save. Like you said, if it's low like that, it's not easy.
Well, watch this from Dennis Onyango. Maybe you've got to go down and ask a question or two of the defending and trying to not clear the ball and shepherd that. That was powerfully struck. Lakay with the initial error. And then the delivery from Jamo Masia. But Machupa hit that with power.
Yes, great reaction.
So, ball on the far side once again. Masia running onto it now. Into the 20th minute we go. Baroka finding a sustained period of pressure here. They are looking to capitalize on that by finding the opening goal. They seek to venture into the Sundowns area once again, but keenly defended by Musa Lebusa, who scored his first goal of the season in their CAF Champions League win over Al Hilal over the weekend.
Challenge for Mamelodi Sundowns. I don't think they're rating well when they lose ball possession. And this is why Baroka is beginning to come out with a little bit of freedom in the last 10 minutes or so. That's why they've been that adventurous into the attacking play with great success. Because the high press hasn't quite happened for Mamelodi Sundowns like I think we've seen them. The one thing that they do very well, they don't allow the opposition to come out with that much freedom. But Baroka has managed to break through in a number of times.
They have. Baroka have been a side that play very entertaining and a flair-filled game. They are a flamboyant side, undoubtedly. And so too is Mamelodi Sundowns. 20 minutes have come and gone. Goalless it remains. But you may recall Shushan and Piano. Mamelodi Sundowns, 2 goal attempts, Baroka 2, but both Baroka attempts have been on target, unlike Sundowns. Voila. Ball into Police, who's playing slightly more central today than normal. A ball flicked through to Serino, he's onside. Serino, square ball, and the offside flag is up. So, no chance to finish here as the flag went up. Atenkosi Ndongeni on the near side. Well, the flag stayed down for Serino. It was Shalulile who'd strayed, and quite correct Ndongeni. No offside there, but this, yes, quite correct. Closer to the goal line than both the ball and the second last defender, although Chipazeze kept that effort out superbly. But there was no chance to find the finish with the flag having gone up, and correctly so. That's good bit of officiating from assistant referee Ndongeni.
You got to add great goalkeeping as well.
Superb.
Yes, there's another. That's the other aspect about the introduction of goalkeeper Chipazeze, because he reacts very well. He's one of those reactional goalkeepers, anticipates very well. Shot stopper, even from close range. He's the best at it.
So this is the look at Serino setting up a chance for Shalulile, who had just strayed into an offside position. If he had stayed behind Serino, it would not have mattered whether or not there was another defender back. So you are only offside if you are closer to the goal line than both the ball and the second last defender. If he'd stayed behind Serino, he would not have been closer to the goal line than the ball.
Did you see the opportunity? Sorry, Dwayne. Did you see the opportunity that fell for Serino? Because I thought also he had a clear-cut route towards goal himself, and yet he opted to play it across, maybe obviously thinking that Shalila was in a better position.
Well, Chipazeze back on his feet, so Masluka, who's come down to warm up, finds himself heading straight back to the stands, where the bench now find themselves in an effort to find a practical solution to physical and social distancing. Jumpies knocking that ball down. Gaga turns away from Serino, gets a pass through that he expected to go the way of Piri, but Piri was fouled by Kutsia, and free kick it is here to this Baroka side. They are applying genuine pressure on the Sundowns goalmouth here.
The thing is, I think the one thing that they do know is if you're going to play Mamelodi Sundowns, yes, you must have respect for them, but not too much.
Well, Cheslin Jumpies has genuinely good qualities about his game. He's a player who, I remember when he received his first Bafana Bafana call-up, he was absolutely elated. He was over the moon. And, he got some sense of validation as Shalulile has committed the error in boots with Mbatlele here. Immediately apologises though. culpable, he says. But Jumpies, last set piece, just effectively gifted it to Sundowns.
It's a little bit surprised because he's one of those few players that are very sure-footed with their left when it comes to set pieces, corners, but in that moment he just gave it to the first two players that were in front of him, of Mamelodi Sundowns.
Or as Mangoiti called him in the pre-match interview, the guy who used to play for Cosmos. There's Pumlani Msibi, of course, knowledgeable as ever, came up and said Cheslin Jumpies. Acknowledged by the Sundowns head coach, co-coach with Pumlani Mkwena. Out wide. Lewusa looking to go down the line where Shalulile is waiting. Serino is holding on to his line. He was looking to make a run. Ball now back with Mvala, is snatched away as he was outnumbered and out-muscled, which is not a common thing. Piri and Musele double teaming the hard man in the middle. Lovely passing game here. Mgaga towards Mahupa. It's also interesting to note how many of these Baroka players were discovered at the so-called smaller tournaments, the festival tournaments. He was among those Mahupa who ended up finding his way through to the top flight into Baroka, courtesy of one of the so-called smaller tournaments.
My feeling, Ben, is that the teams, particularly from Lesotho and anywhere else as well, a little bit further away from Gauteng, should have a better chance of finding gems of players, because there's definitely quality all around the country, but there's just not enough scouts that are out there.
Delivery in here, danger area. It's Tembazwane who is waiting for it. 8 goals in his opening 8 matches this season, Tembazwane, but he has not scored since his last goal, which proved to be the cherry on the cake in a 2-0 win over Baroka. He scored in added time after Lyle Lakay had found the opener. But in 5 matches since then, he has not found the goal for Mamelodi Sundowns.
Well, maybe you shouldn't worry so much, maybe, because I guess it's a competition. You want to be the top goal scorer. But it seems that Robert as well is taking a short break and waiting for everybody to pick up their form.
I think I jokingly said that Bradley Grobler, last time I'd done a Supersport United game before this last one, where they claimed a 2-1 victory over Cape Town City, that he had 12 goals this season but only 2 children. He now has 3 children and still has 12 goals.
I remember that one.
Toward the back post where Mabue looks to influence the game. Kutsia should be over the top and looked headed towards Shalulile, who's undoubtedly the target man. But the ability and depth of the Sundowns squad is that you can effectively pass it to anybody. Here's Mkulise, younger players who've certainly impressed in their time with the senior team. Ball out wide on that far flank. As Mbala looks to go the way of Tembazwane. Now, it's here. Mbala looking to overlap now. Lakay scored against Baroka last time. It's cut out by Chipazeze, but he's dropped a ball that eventually he gets on the end of and smothers under pressure from Serino. My word, that could have turned out so very differently for Baroka.
Now, here's the difference. High balls into the area. That is where Masuluke does very well. And that's Chipezeze's challenge. Under no much pressure, he drops it. And he'll be very disappointed if there's one thing that he struggled just a seasons ago, whereby they were really worried about him being the number 1, was that he didn't deal with crosses. And his coach, Thomas Nare, was under so much stress on how can he help him get this part of his game up to where it's needed.
So Mamelodi Sundowns, Mbala, needed a few stitches in his head, a few games back. He picked up a red card against Black Leopards. Allowed his scalp a little time to recover. Did play in the CAF Champions League tie this past weekend, where Rushinder Riek made his first appearance in the colours of Sundowns, but did not play. Well, Batlele showing some genuine youthful exuberance down that far flank and charging run into Sundowns danger territory for the right back.
And I guess once he gets in and around the 18 yards area, and a very unusual space to be in.
The generations of Piri football players. To Gerald Piri Jr. we go. He finds himself on the ground for a moment, just checked on by Philip Tignani. I mentioned he's 46 years old. It's set to be his last season in the top flight as a referee. But, it's an indication. There's certain allowances, and you might notice in other countries around the world, referees are still refereeing in their 50s, and even in Netherlands, of course, he's refereeing into his 60s. That's owing to the fact that referees are professional in many European countries, and they are then protected by labour laws. Which means that if they can pass the fitness tests, which are a requirement for referees, they can continue refereeing as long as they are able to. Whereas most of the countries beyond 46 is going to be a genuine stretch. As we hit the half-hour mark, no goals as yet.
Victor Sumane, I think also is on the veg, isn't he?
Yes, there are a few referees that are entering the years where they might have to start considering a future roles if they are to stay in the game. I'm delighted to see so many former referees have stayed in the game and continue to use their knowledge and expertise. Philip Tignani is among the referees who's currently gainfully employed. He's a long-time servant of the South African Police Force. True. And they South African Police Services these days, are they?
In the south of Joburg.
He's a police, yes, in Boysens. Yes. Boysens, but although he hails from Limpopo, but he's remained fit and he's been completely dedicated to his work as a police officer and indeed as a referee as well. And that takes so much discipline and dedication, which is, it's difficult to explain because he's often just seen as the man in the middle who might get a decision wrong from time to time. And I say that not to criticise the referee, but to point out the absurdity of, well, only a very small element of the individual is sometimes taken into context when making decisions as a whole. As Makume has possession and looks to clear for Baroka here.
Our heart goes to Stan Swart.
Oh, ball in here, great chance to open the scoring, and somehow it's drifted wide. Agonisingly so for the Baroka side that could have snatched the opener courtesy of Masia. Onyango beaten, he is furious, is the goalkeeper. But my word, out of nowhere, Makume was simply trying to find somewhere to clear, but a beautiful flick on.
Great anticipation. That's quality on Masia, who anticipated that there might be a flick. But Lebusa gets caught because he doesn't anticipate. And that sometimes can be a challenge for a defender who cannot maybe look at the next phase of a game. He could have been better at covering Nascimento at that point. But the youngster Masia was excellent at it. And lucky that he misses.
Well, Masia, the opening goal in this tie, and what a goal that would have been. It was Shumani Philip Tignani. It's being assessed today by Johnny Du Toit, who's a former referee, who's now a match commissioner. We've seen various roles by some of the greats as well. We're looking at the likes of Enoch Mlefi, who's still heavily involved in the education system, and genuine credit to the education system in the Free States. Jerome Damon, credit to the education system in the Western Cape, but also maintaining their interest in the world of football by serving the game so dutifully.
I was saying earlier on, Dwayne, my heart goes for Stan Swart, who obviously retired last season, at the end of the season. I'm just trying to think, for all his service, for the longest that I can remember the man being involved.
To the to the near side, and Sereno getting on the end of one, but he's gotten underneath it completely and sends it into the stands over the back of Chipezeze's crossbar. As Sereno takes a big swipe at this, but again a lovely delivery from that far side. Totally unmarked at the back post here. But yes, Dansoir served football for 45 years. He's retired to the Western Cape for good reason. He's been blessed with a grandson, and he is spending time with family. There's nothing more important, I would suggest, for many, as they've come to realise in the time of a global pandemic.
Yeah. And that he can still obviously take a walk around the beach, walk his dog, and grandson, of course, is just a blessing to be able to grow it to that stage, you know. And he looked forward to it, eh? I'm sure he misses it. He misses the game
every single day. There's Mgaga to combine with tall Makgopa. Mgaga and Makgopa have a very good relationship. They have an almost telepathic communication at times. His free kick is conceded by very versatile Lewan Mabue. Recently found his first goal of the season in that 2-0 win over Chippa United at this venue just over 2 weeks ago. So 10 minutes to go to half-time. Piri might be hoping for a free kick a little more central. Footer steers the ball in toward the back post. It's not kept in play, and it's not an effort that's able to be guided goal-bound by the defender Makume or Kambala, who are among the closest to that ball in.
Gee, Dennis obviously thinks he's going to drop earlier, and realized only late that it's too high, and could have been in trouble had somebody been at the back of it.
Makgopa had final touch on that before that ball went out of play, but the other aspect to consider was that Kambala, it nearly shaved his head, it was so close to him.
Well, the one thing that Kambala will be remembered for a long time.
Are you going to mention last season now?
At the end of the season, last game.
Far side.
That was a harsh moment.
It's Police is looking to set up another opportunity for Sundowns here in Tambazwane. And he break the goal drought. And 8 goals in his first 8 games, but none in his last 5 in the league here. Baroka looking to turn it around. Chamo Masia, far side. And cleared. Yes. Kambala's goal that equalised against Kaizer Chiefs in the final game of last season. At the same time, Mabue was scoring a hat-trick. Saw Mamelodi Sundowns to victory in the league by 2 points. I can tell you that earlier today, Mamelodi Sundowns had Kaizer Chiefs rather lost out to Zulu in a DSTV Premiership fixture. So things, we've seen Benny McCarthy reinvigorate Amazulu to an incredible degree.
He'll be happy with that performance because Sunday against Swallows FC, they were nowhere. They were average, and he was honest enough and saying the team just didn't come out at all today. So I'm sure he'll be very encouraged by what happened this afternoon.
If you're from KwaZulu-Natal, you'd be delighted to note that there are 2 teams from Durban who are in the top 6. 2 Pretoria sides, Sundowns and SuperSport sit as the top 2. Then Swallows and Pirates are among the teams that find themselves in the top 5. Golden Arrows, however, are 4th overall behind only Sundowns, SuperSport and Swallows, with Amazulu now up to 6th following their victory over Chiefs earlier today. As Nawart commits the foul on his international teammate and compatriot Shalulile. If you've never seen Jocelyn Kamatuka, who was the 3rd Namibian I was talking about in the trio of Namibians involved today, you may recall him as being the Namibian player who scored against Cote d'Ivoire at the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations.
Only at the international duty here by Sinan.
He's got a younger brother who is football talent as well. He was actually playing in South Africa late last year in the 20 Africa Cup of Nations down in Port Elizabeth. Nascimento feeds forward. Zwane, Serino combining with Kutsia. Wonderful interplay. Zwane, Mkulise, now Mvala, but he's gone and gifted it to Musele, who sends Gaga on his way to combine with anybody, but Jumpy's the only real outlet for him. Goes that way, lifts it over the top here behind Nascimento, and real pace from Gaga. Pressure on Nascimento. That's wonderful understanding from Lebusa though. Baroka, got to credit the pressure that they put on the teams above them. Standings, they lie 10th currently. A haul of 17 points in 15 matches is Nyongo.
And find Shalile, but mainly they build up short passing game through the middle. But Baroka, I'm telling you, this is where I think
Messia jogs back to his position. Baroka themselves have a concern with a few tended to go towards the right. Kulise was calling for it straight ahead of him. Hoping that Mabua could try to tuck it in behind Jumpies. Cimento now goes for a ball that's attempted to go over the top as Zwane gets on the end of it. Kulise, a little bit of space opening up and a beautiful overlapping run by Mabua. Ball into a danger area. That 18-yard area, Vala looks to squeeze it towards Kutsia. Cimento. Kambala. Starting nicely here, Baroka, looking to close the opening half on a positive note. Back, Batlele decides rather than going for a cross that he'll struck an effort after a charging run down that right flank earlier on in the half. I don't even think Dennis Onyango expected that, but I suppose the key for any player is expect the unexpected, to quote the cliche.
We often say he was very ambitious. Target, he forced the save from the goalkeeper. Only Dennis Onyango could make it look so easy.
I remember a goalkeeper. I think he went by the nickname Cool Cat.
No.
We got to go back because we must respect not only our viewers in Swatini, but indeed around the continent. It's interesting to note that we call you William, Willie, Mr. Shongwe. We'll refer to you as Cool Cat. I didn't realise how well. I don't think anybody in your home country knows you by anything other than Cool Cat. You are a living legend. I'm just waiting for the commissioned statue.
That will be the day.
One in each city. All knocked out a play on the near side.
Yeah, put a word for me to His Majesty.
I'm not the commentator with any power.
Hey, Dwayne DeLoca, the one and only. The man that can call all of sports. Put him into athletics, he's there. Swimming, he's there. In rugby, whatever. Dwayne DeLoca is the man. As we look into Mvala here.
Shielding that ball beautifully on this occasion. Powered by two, but it's going to come away with a free kick. Here's Tembazwane for opportunity to find a goal. Okay, pulls it back. She's opening up the Sundowns, but Baroka are quickly closing down any outlet. Genuinely good, solid structure defending here from Baroka.
it's the speed with which they retreat into the defensive zone, into the defensive half, just to make sure that they, I mentioned the two midfielders, Musele and Kambala, that they need to stay together because Sundowns can exploit the spaces in between. But as a team, they've been excellent in that middle.
So, into the added time period, only 1 minute of time has been added on, and the first corner of the game only comes in added time at the end of the opening half. 30 seconds of added time remains. It's Rivaldo Kusia, Kakamas, the Northern Cape, who heads over to the far side. Okay. High delivery, it's floated as well, it might be there, just trying. Sereno again gets underneath it. With this opportunity wasted, no doubt we'll have an opportunity to have Chibuzeze take his goal kick before the half-time whistle goes. But William Chongwe, just a quick reflection on this setup by Sundowns and your reflection of the opening half.
Start well, brilliant Sundowns. They had Baroka on the back foot for the most part, but the fact that they didn't take those chances, it gave Baroka time to settle, and once Baroka got going, and they were brilliant. They actually had moments where I think they had the better of the Sundowns. Great first half for both teams.
Well, but Lele nearly catching everybody, except Dennis Onyongo unawares with an absolute long-range fizzer late on in the opening half. Mamelodi Sundowns had a few chances, but none that they could capitalise on, and indeed one that they'll be kicking themselves about. And they had a 2-on-1 situation, and unfortunately it was Namibian international Peter Shalolile found himself flagged for offside after overstepping the mark. So half-time between the log leaders Sundowns and 10th place Baroka. It's goalless at Loftus.
With Outsurance, you can cover up to 14 family members on one funeral plan. SMS funeral to 38202 for a quote.
Paper cuts.